Well, hello and welcome to another edition of Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham, where Team Needham discusses everything healthcare. I'm your host, Shawn Needham, along with my wonderful wife, Janet, and we are excited to have Marcus Fernandez on our podcast today. He's going to be talking about meds, framework for Healthspan, and when it comes to homeopathy at home. He's a #1 seller on Amazon, wrote the book Homeopathy at Home. And as we wait for him to get on, Janet and I are going to discuss a few things that have been that we've been thinking about. We think about all the time, and we get questions about all the time. So, Janet, what is the most common question that you get all the time in the pharmacy?
Oh, there's several, but one commonly that we hear is, am I too old for hormone replacement? I think that's a big myth out there that for some reason we are too old to have hormones which are naturally produced in our body when our body was able to. And hormones are a messenger to tell our body to perform a function. So as long as you are alive, you are never too old.
That's right. That's right. Marcus, welcome to our show.
Hey, hello.
Hello. So we already introduced you a little bit and talked about a little bit about your book, Homeopathy at Home, but tell us about Meds Framework for Healthspan.
Okay. Well, hi, I'm Marcus. Pleased to meet you. So what, you want to go into it? Yeah?
Yeah, go into your background a little bit first.
Sure. Okay. So yeah, my name's Marcus Fernandez and I'm a homeopath. I've been a homeopath for 34 years now. And yeah, it's been an amazing journey, and both as a practitioner, also as a teacher of homeopathy. I also founded a school of homeopathy back in 1998 called the Centre for Homeopathic Education, CHE, based here in London. But we also have schools. We have students all over the world now on our online courses where we train people to become practitioners, either a 4-year course or a 2-year fast track course. My whole mission when I first found out about homeopathy was really just I couldn't believe that this thing existed. I'd never heard of it before. And I remember when I first heard about it, I was like, well, if this is true, how come everybody doesn't know? How come the whole world doesn't know about it? And then the second thought was, I'm going to make sure the world does know about it. And that's been my guiding star for the past sort of 34 years, is to enhance the health of humankind through the application and education of homeopathy. So that's that's been my mission.
That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about that for those that might not know. What is homeopathy?
So homeopathy is a whole system of medicine. It looks at you mentally, emotionally, as well as physically. And it works on a process called like cures like. So you chop an onion up, your eyes waters or your nose runs. Well, we use that onion in a very diluted form as a homeopathic remedy for people who are suffering from colds or flu or hay fever, where they've got streaming eyes and streaming nose. So what can cause something in a large amount, in a small amount, it can cure it. Another good example is coffee. So you drink lots of coffee, a bit too much, too many espressos, and you feel really wired and you're running around and your brain's going 1,000 miles an hour. If you drink it too much, too soon before going to bed, you won't sleep because you rush of ideas and thoughts. And basically, your whole nervous system is wrung out. Well, we use coffee as a homeopathic remedy called kefir for people who have those symptoms but haven't drank coffee. They could be stressed out with work or with their kids, trying to juggle everything, and they're all strung out, can't sleep. The brain's going 1,000 miles an hour. So it's a very simple concept, and really out there in nature has really everything we need. And what we're doing with the remedies is stimulating the body to heal itself. It's tapping into that inner wisdom that we all have within inside of us. We've all got it. We've all got it.
And is it true a little over 100 years ago, homeopathy was like mainstream medicine?
Oh, huge. I mean, are you guys in the US, aren't you? Are you in the US?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. I always get it confused. Sometimes make a mistake of saying Canada if I hear that accent. So I do apologize to anybody there. Yeah, in the US, I mean, incredible history in homeopathy. I say to all your listeners in the US, you need to look at the history of homeopathy because it was phenomenal. You had homeopathic medical schools, homeopathic hospitals all across America. Huge schools in Chicago, in New York. And all the evidence there for the pandemic, the influenza pandemic of was it 1916 to 1918? I think it was the pandemic. All the clinical results are all there, for people to find. But it was outlawed by what was called the Flexner Report in 1922, I think. Around that time, I think it was commissioned by Rockefeller, and they were looking, basically they cut all the public funding for homeopathic hospitals, homeopathic medical schools, and that really destroyed it. And then guess what? The pharmaceutical companies then arose from the ashes. Oh, what a surprise. But in the UK, our late Queen used homeopathy all her life. The pharmacy, there's a pharmacy in London, has got the royal warrants from the king, the now king. All the royal family have used homeopathy like they did across Europe. At homeopathic hospitals here, we had 4 major homeopathic hospitals here in London, which still exists. Tunbridge Wells, Scotland, Bristol. I mean, it was a real force. And in fact, the American Medical Association was set up to outlaw homeopathy as well. So if you practice homeopathy and you're a medical doctor, sometimes you weren't allowed to be in the same gentleman's club because you associated with a homeopath. So this is not a new age medicine. You go to India, 100 million people use homeopathy as their main primary healthcare. There's homeopathic hospitals all across India, pharmacies, medical schools. It's a force to be reckoned with.
So maybe I'm off in this thought, but the approach of homeopathy would be different than what we call in the States traditional medicine with
Yes.
big pharma, because in my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, in the state of homeopathy, we're helping the body heal itself, not
Exactly.
become dependent on
Exactly.
some foreign chemical.
Exactly. That's exactly it. So we call it allopathic medicine, which is, I won't call it traditional medicine. I'd call it pharmaceutical medicine. And then there's a homeopathic or more natural way of looking at it, just like Chinese medicine, Ayurveda. Homeopathy is sort of in the same camp because it's truly holistic. And I think the good analogy for this is a car dashboard. If the oil light flashes, it means there's something wrong in the engine. But if you just take the bulb out or just suppress the symptoms, there's still a problem in the engine and the car's going to break down 2 or 3 miles down the road.
Right.
So what we do is go into the engine, fix the problem, the bulb will go off by itself. So it's not about suppressing symptoms. It's going, well, what is the body trying to say? What's it trying to show? There's an issue here. And if you don't listen to it and just suppress it, then it will go deeper into the body. And I truly believe, and from my years of experience, all the healing wisdom we need is within us, and we've just forgotten a lot of this knowledge. I remember my grandmother, if I got sick or if I got stung by a bee or whatever I did, scrape my legs, I've been on my bike or whatever it was, she had something in the kitchen she would use, as a traditional remedy. So there's lots of things we can do. Now, listen, I'm not anti-medicine, all right? I'm not anti-medicine. I want to make it very, very clear. To me, it's like a scale. If I'm on a car accident, the first place I want to be is a hospital. Okay, I worked in hospitals. Amazing emergency medicine. But I'll be probably taking arnica if I'm conscious, homeopathic remedy. But fantastic. But if I got a chronic disease, I'm going to look at all the different ways. This is me personally. Different ways of trying to get my body to heal itself before I go down that surgery or pharmaceutical approach. So to me, it's about choice. It's about where do I sit on that scale. And like I said, there's many things we can do before we need to rush to the doctors. And a lot of this is old knowledge. It's ancient knowledge. It's stuff we can do.
So tell us a little bit about your book, because it says homeopathy at home.
Yeah.
So educate us.
Got it here. Got a copy here.
Yeah.
Homeopathy at Home. Yeah. So published by Hay House. Published roughly, it was January last year. Yeah, that's it. And it's the reason behind Homeopathy at Home was a bit like, my passion really goes back to what I was saying about to enhance the health and well-being of humankind. And to me, they say, charity begins at home. Well, actually, to me, health begins at home. This is where it comes from. It starts, especially when we got kids. I've got kids, people got children. Often when you have a child, I remember when you have a baby, often the last thing you want to do is put really drugs into this baby or anything that could be potentially have side effects. So often that's how people get into homeopathy, is often through their children, through their kids when they're young. And so I wanted to really write a book that was really easy, an easy guide for parents or families, for people to be able to grab it, like in the kitchen. I don't want it stuck on a shelf. I want it to be dog-eared. I don't want stains on it from, coffee or tea or whatever. I want people to use the book because in the book I've made it quite simple. It's an A to Z of different ailments, from everything from athlete's foot, bumps and bruises, colds, constipation. I mean, all different types of fevers, grief, influenza. This is often the acute, what we call the acute issues that people can get. And so in there, remember there's thousands of remedies, but the thing about homeopathy is it's very individual. So for example, you could have a headache, I could have a headache, 5 of us could have a headache, but each person will be slightly different. So what you do in homeopathy, instead of just taking a painkiller, which is like a one size fits all, we would say, well, okay, what's your headache like? And I talk about this in the book. It's like a 5 called clams. It's called the clams method. 5 questions that you need to really ask people. So for example, whereabouts is it? So say you got a headache, where is it? Now most people say in their head, but whereabouts on your head is it? Oh, it's on the left-hand side. Now mine could be on the right-hand side. Okay. Somebody else's could be on the top of the head or the back of the head. What makes it better? Well, it's better if I put a pressure on it. Some people say it's better if I lie down. Some people could say it's better if I go outside. Some people might say it's better when I come inside. So this is what we call these characteristic symptoms. And some people will be thirsty. Some people will be thirstless. So it's like being a little bit of like a detective. But I can guarantee you, most people, if there's 5 people in the room, they probably each need a different homeopathic remedy according to their particular symptoms, or what we call keynotes. And therefore, that's when you then select which remedy in the book, because I broke it right down to like the top 5 remedies for each condition, which I've seen in clinical practice. And all you've got to do is match. So say headache, there's 5 remedies. Which one of those 5 fits you the best? And that's the one you take, the one you choose. So again, it's different than allopathic, where you will just give a painkiller. You're trying to sort out exactly what it's individualized. And this is how medicine's going. It's going very individualized, which homeopathy has been doing since it started, really. So the book really, and then after the 5 top remedies for each condition, I will say what you can find in the kitchen cupboard you can use. So for example, say like a bee sting or wasp sting, you can, most people have got bicarbonate of soda in their cupboard, where they can mix a bit of water, like make it into a little paste and put it onto the bee sting. Very effective.
I remember that.
Yeah, I did it on my daughter. I did it on my daughter in the summer because I didn't have my remedies with me, but we had some bicarbonate soda in the thing. I just brought a little water, a bit of paste, put it on there, and it alkalizes it. And she used to stop crying, and oh yeah, Daddy feels better. So it's these little things. One thing actually, when I did the book, which I was actually quite surprised by, the use is of chamomile tea. There's so many uses for chamomile tea. Even the tea bag itself. If you've got like pink eye, I think you guys call it in the States, or we call it conjunctivitis. Things like this on the eye, you can use it like as a compress, obviously cold, not hot, but when it's brewed. So many uses of these things. So it's basically what it is just saying to people, look, there's things you can do, and the more that people do it and use it, then the more confident people become. And that was the aim of the book, is stuff you can do with yourself without feeling disempowered, or I've got to run to the pharmacy and get a drug. And the thing is, the more that you use these natural remedies, and with homeopathy in particular, what it's doing is stimulating your body to heal itself. So another good car analogy, I don't know why I use these car analogies because I'm not really into cars, but they're always good to use, is like the ignition in a key. The key and the ignition of a car, not electric cars. I'm talking about the old good old fashioned cars. Mm-hmm. You turn the key and the engine will go. Now, you don't keep turning the key, because if you do that, you grind the ignition, don't you? Once the engine's going, then you don't need to keep turning the key. Same with the remedy. Once you give a homeopathic remedy, what it does, it gently stimulates the body's own engine, as it were, its own vital force, its own immune system response, and then it knows what to do. And you only repeat it when the symptoms start to come back. Just like if the engine started to stall, you turn the key again. So again, in my book, I explain this as a different way of looking at it. It's not like the traditional pharmaceutical approach of take 2, every day after 2 hours for or a course of antibiotics. It's really, again, you're just stimulating the body to heal itself. And what happens is, the more that you do that, the stronger your vitality and constitution becomes. Because it's like having a workout at the gym. Your body's dealing with it, and it remembers, and it gets stronger. It's like muscle memory for your immune system. And I've seen that, in practice, and I've seen it with myself, my own kids, and as well as in clinical practice.
I like your car analogies, by the way. I'm a simple kind of guy, and I like it. I love the check engine light one. That's beautiful. And Jen and I are both pharmacists, and we're pharmacists that don't believe in drugs to treat long-term disease. Yeah. And the check engine light's a great analogy. Oh, yeah. You have type 2 diabetes. Yeah. Well, we'll just give you a medication. We'll just cover up that check engine light, and certain things will look better on your labs per se. Yeah. But that doesn't mean the problem is fixed.
Exactly. And that's it. I think it's really about just, I don't know, I think it's just people being aware. You must know this, if people go into the pharmacy, they want this, but actually a lot of stuff they can really deal with themselves. And I think what happens is we've over medicalized things, haven't we? It's like, I don't know what's like in the States, but in the UK now, because it's very difficult to go and get to see it, because we have a national health service, as you know, where it's free at a point of access, but people can't get in to see their GP, their general practitioner, so then they're ending up in you call it ER, A&E for us, with really things that they can deal with at home. It's clogging up the whole system. So I know some people say a little bit of knowledge can be dangerous, but it's been sensible. And again, I say in that book, this is only really for acute situations or situations that can deal with in the home. If anything more chronic or anything more serious, you need to get advice, medical advice, or from a practitioner. So that's why I'm saying that's why I use the scale. I don't like to polarize things, because some people go, no, I'll never do that. But I would never say that. My little boy, well, he's not so little now, he's 15, but when he was 11, he had appendicitis. And what do we do? Take him to the hospital. So it's not being silly, but it's being sensible, but it's also just learning to be able to, it's about knowledge, isn't it? It's about just using these things and trying it.
Well, I will say, back on the chronic disease. Yeah. We talk about this often. Most chronic disease is caused by somebody's lifestyle. So you still probably don't need to access the system the allopathic healthcare system for a chronic disease. You need to fix your lifestyle.
Exactly. Well, that brings on to the meds framework, because that meds framework, because I have this a lot with patients and clients where, like you said, you can treat things like, say somebody's coming in with and they've got an issue. I don't know. Say they've got indigestion, or they've got, I don't know, whatever digestive problems they've got. And then you look at the diet, and you're going, well, I can give you these remedies and it's going to help, but it's going to come back because you're not dealing with the cause behind it. Back to the engine and car analogy thing. And again, say, they just take things, for heartburn or whatever. It's an indication there's something not right. Now, that can have we know that can be many things. It can be physical, it can be mental and emotional, if they're under stress or whatever it can be. So, but like you said, if the more that you suppress it, the deeper it can go into something as an issue. But back to the meds framework. So often I'll say to people, look, you need to look at your health. And I love this framework, meds, and it's a good acronym. And basically what it is meditation, exercise, diet, and sleep.
Oh,
I love it. You fix those 4 things. And when I say fix them, just bring awareness to them, just bring awareness to them. Because I worked in the NHS as a homeopath in the mid-90s. So I used to get people coming, and this was the difference, private practice versus on the NHS. People would come in and say, fix me. They weren't interested about what I had to say. They just wanted a pill. It didn't matter whether it was a homeopathic remedy or a drug. It's like they just wanted they wanted to be fixed, and I found that really, really disheartening. It's like, because I'm so excited about health and well-being. So don't you want to know how to? They didn't really want to know. But back to the meds framework. So yeah, I said meditation, exercise, diet, and sleep. So let's start with meditation. I've been meditating a long time, and since my early 20s, but now it's very vogue. In those days, it wasn't so much, but now meditation's everywhere, isn't it? Mindfulness is everywhere. And really, how I interpret that is, you don't have to sit for 2 hours in the lotus position up a mountain. You just got to take some time out in your day, and some people call it contemplation, some people call it prayer. It's somewhere where you're disconnecting to the world, and you just basically going within, in whatever way that is, and that pause and that sort of connection, to who you are. Now, it doesn't have to have any religious connotation to it. It can do. I call it more spiritual, if I'm honest. But I think, the studies show the effect of meditation, particularly on the health of people, on the immune system. There's thousands of studies now, and we all know it's good. We need to do it. And I say, don't have your expectations. You've got to do an hour every day, just even if for 5 minutes. But it's the regularity of doing it every day. We take that. It could be first thing in the morning before the kids get up. It could be late at night. I prefer to do it in the evening before I go to bed, just so I finish the day off in that state. So I can go into my sleep. The second one is exercise or movement. We need to move. We need to move. Now, that sounds obvious to people listening who are moving, but for a lot of people, they do not move, and exercise is important, and that can take many forms, especially get to a certain age. I mean, I'm 54 now, strength training. You need to do it at that age. Strength is really important, but also moving around, not stood at your desk all day. I see this a lot with men, they sit down a lot, and, I have issues with the prostate, and I'm sure it's that pressure on that perineum that is this lack of movement, not moving around. So we need to move. And as a lot of people work from home now, you can sit at your desk, for a couple of hours before you realize, I need to move. I purposely move every 45 minutes. I set it on my alarm. I have a standing desk so I can go up and down if I need to. But also, I was going to have a kettle in my room to make my tea, and I've purposely not put one in, so I have to walk.
Great.
I have to walk into the kitchen, which is because I'm in a clinic space here. It's quite a way, just so I move. All right. I do drink quite a lot of tea. That's probably my only vice. But I like my tea. I'm English. What can I say? So that's a good way of doing it. But people need to move, and standing desks are brilliant. I don't know if you guys have one. They are so good to do to move around. The next one is diet or nutrition. And I get asked this a lot. Well, what should I eat? And I say, well, start off eating real food.
Yep.
Right. And they go, well, honestly, and this shocks me. People go, what do you mean by real food?
Right. I know, right?
Yeah. And it's like, really? I say, well, look, if your grandmother would recognize it, that's a real food, right? I try to make it as simple as possible to people, Yeah. If your grandmother recognizes real food, if it comes out of a box, it's probably come from a factory. And I can be quite kind, and I'll say, look, make sure when you first start off, make sure 80%, 20% you can cheat, but make sure when you first start, this 80% is real food. Again, just trying to make it simple and easy for people, because they'll give up otherwise, And then what happens is people start to feel like all those three things I've just mentioned there. People start to feel the impact. I have it with meditation or mindfulness. People do. They go, you know what? Sometimes in the day, I just get this little, I just feel calm in myself. It's like they get these little moments of clarity, little moments of stillness. And that's what happens when you do that. And then the final one, which I'm sure you all would agree, the most important one, sleep. The one I'd say is the most important one. Anybody knows listening, if you've ever had sleep deprivation, whether it's jet lag, whether it's children who can't sleep, colic or whatever, teething, it's like torture. When you don't. In fact, it's used in torture, isn't it? I mean,
it is.
It's the most one, but that's the one again where I think more awareness is coming there. But it's the fundamental one. So I will say to people, when they eat, you don't eat too close to bedtime. Again, I'm shocked. People eat so late, Now let's put other cultures to one side, like in Spain, because my family's Spanish, and Italy. But just the general people will eat very late to go into bed, or they're drinking alcohol. And we know that, your body needs to digest. Your heart rate will not go down until you've digested that food.
Right.
That alcohol is going to have an effect. You will not go into deep sleep. Oh, people go to bed too late. And people, this is the biggest thing that I get. People will actually come from, say, see me because they can't sleep, got problems with insomnia. And first thing I say to them is, what's your bedroom like? Well, what do you mean? Well, what do you have in your room? They've got a TV, they've got they've got an electric alarm clock next to their head. They've got this under the pillow on. And I'm saying to them, right, first thing, take that phone and put it out in the corridor, right? And I normally say switch it off. No, I can't switch it off. Why? In case there's an emergency. Well, how many emergencies have you had in the past year? None. But just in case,
right.
True.
It's like, okay, well, put it in the corridor, out the bedroom, not under your pillow, because it's trying to connect to that satellite, sub-satellite, the tower. It's electromagnetic. It's going to it has an effect on you. So try to make sure that your bedroom is a sanctuary. To get that TV out, it needs to be a sanctuary. It needs to be somewhere. If you're going to have a TV, unplug it. Don't leave it on standby. But yeah, sleep is the great book by, I don't know if you've ever read it, by Dr. Martin Walker, Why Do We Sleep? Phenomenal book. It's a great book about sleep. When all the studies done, like when the clocks go forward and we lose an hour's sleep, I'm sure you heard of this, how the heart attacks spike on the Monday morning.
Mm-hmm.
There's a spike of heart attacks. And you never get that sleep back. You can't make it up at the weekend. It doesn't work like that. But again, it affects everything, the endocrine system, everything. So that's my meds framework. So I've labored it a bit, but it's basically, I say to people, get those 4 pillars right, or be conscious about them. Your health will improve. I guarantee it.
I love the acronym. And I got to tell you, Marcus, Janet and I, we preach sleep, diet, and exercise.
There you go. Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
And we don't call it meditation. We call it stress management or relaxation or something.
Whatever. Yeah. Whatever it is. Yeah.
And so I like your acronym because it makes it easy to remember those things. And
exactly.
And we try to make health so complicated.
Yes.
But it really is that simple. Sleep, diet, exercise. And like you say, just movement.
It's movement.
And diet. Eat real food. It's that easy.
That's that easy.
So I got to tell you a story. Our youngest son just got back from Europe. He started out in Toulouse, France. Then he went to Paris. Then he went to Madrid. Stayed there about a month.
Yeah.
And he lost about 10 pounds. And he didn't have 10 pounds to lose.
Wow.
And he showed me last night on his phone. He was tracking his steps. And in Europe, and now you got to understand, he didn't have a home there. It was an Airbnb, so he had to travel to get food and all that kind of stuff. So it's a little bit different situation than it would be if he was living there, possibly. But he says it probably wasn't, depending on where you lived.
Yeah.
Anyway, he thought the food was different.
Yeah.
But he also moved more. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but I know.
Yeah. Well, I think
European food is different than American food.
Oh, definitely, without a doubt. I mean, obviously, I've been to America a lot, and obviously, I live in Europe and spend a lot of time in a place like Italy. I mean, God, it's just a different, whole different ball game, even compared to the UK, from a cuisine point of view. I think, like, for example, a lot of cultures, like Spain or like Italy, or even France. I mean, it's an art. Food is an art, isn't it? Yeah. It's total art, and I got married in Tuscany, in Italy. We got married there, and we're vegetarian, right? So, but they put on this most amazing 25-course vegetarian wedding thing, with the most amazing food. And even my hardened relatives, who are real meat eaters, they just loved it because it's an art. The way that they make the food, it's an art, and the way that they drink. So, even using, I mean, I don't drink. I haven't drank for 20 odd years because I just wanted to stop. I didn't want to drink anymore and be healthy. And but even the way that the drink is different. You know, the drink with the food, with the meal, it's an art. It's all put together well. So
Mhm.
yeah, and I think probably in the States, what I found in the States a lot is that you don't really walk it a lot. As in, I remember recently I was in Florida, and you go to walk, but you can't because you need a car to get to places.
That's exactly what he said. Right.
Yeah. Well, with us, everything is sort of really quite, you know, near and local, and you walk around in the streets, and so everything is easy to access. So I think that probably plays a huge part in it, you know. But you guys, like, everything's very spread out, I found.
Although it's
Obviously,
strange. Sorry to interrupt. I think it's
yeah,
strange though in our culture, and I'm going to note this because I grew up very rural on a ranch, and we walked everywhere. We rode our
yeah,
bikes, our horses, whatever.
yeah.
And I remember in the winter time,
When was that, John? What sort of decade was that?
I was born in 67.
Okay, so come on,
So
we're
I'm
talking the
50.
70s. Life was great in the 70s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was,
totally.
though. It was. I mean, I had this
It
conversation
was.
Yeah,
with,
we rode our bikes everywhere.
Yeah, we had freedom.
exactly.
We had
Exactly.
freedom.
Yeah.
But you know, if because the world didn't stop if there was a snowstorm, we still went to school. You know, there was all this stuff that would happen. And I remember if my dad got stuck doing stuff and couldn't plow the driveway, which I'm telling you, driveways were long. They weren't
Yeah.
short, you know? And of course, my memory is saying that they're bigger as a kid, but
Yeah.
we would be dressed up. My mom would send us out the door. We would walk the driveway to meet the bus at the road, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We lived like there was no problem.
Yeah.
Today in my neighborhood, I see mothers put their kids in a car to take them 3 houses down to meet the bus. And I'm like, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
I mean, I could see standing outside and watching your child walk to the bus,
Yeah.
but to put them in a car,
I know. I know.
the,
Oh,
the
don't start me
movement,
on this, Jan. Don't start me on this one because, you
Oh,
know, it's
I mean,
like,
and it's starting a bad habit for that child.
oh,
of course. Well, because what you're doing is look, the best thing we can do with our kids is make them resilient, I feel, you know.
right.
And like I said, our generation, which is like Generation X, just like you said, I mean, we would get snowed in, but my dad would like marching us through the snow to get to the school. I mean, you
Yeah.
just, you know, the things like I said, we're on our bikes all day. I mean, really, stuff what we got up to, but you're okay. You know, you survived. It's like this happened with my son and daughter, where they provide, he can walk he gets this bus, and the bus is about a mile away, but the local authority have to provide a taxi to take him to the bus stop. And I said to my wife, absolutely not. He can walk, right?
Right.
He can walk that.
Right.
It's ridiculous,
Oh.
ridiculous. And and taxpayers are paying for all of that. I mean, don't start me on
Right.
that.
I know.
But it's about resilience. And I think
Mhm.
just like health, and I say this a lot about health, you know, what is health, what is disease? Health is our ability to adapt to our environment, you know. So whether it's that cold draft or the cold change of the seasons, whatever, if we can't adapt, often we get sick. And it's the same with our children. I think the biggest thing we can teach our children, and I think I'm going to bring AI into this because, you know, the whole thing with AI is going to change everything. But you can't forecast I mean, again, with my kids, I can't tell them what the next 5 years is going to be.
Right.
Well, what I can say is teach them resilience and teach them how to adapt to situations there, and that comes from resilience.
Right. It's a
You know?
mindset, I think,
Yeah.
Mindset.
of what you see in individuals. Shawn and I last Saturday were on a biking.
Tour de Palm Springs.
Yeah. And Shawn saw a gentleman with a
Prosthetic leg.
so he has one leg, you know, I think it was it to the knee. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I think so.
Anyways, he's riding 100 miles.
Wow.
And
Amazing.
we have a friend that's a prosthetic fitter. And I've seen some amazing things that Ross has done with people.
Yeah.
They may not have both legs, but they
Yeah.
have prosthetics. They run, they ski, they
Yeah.
snowboard, they live, right?
Yeah.
That person has the mindset of nothing is going to stop me. I'm going to keep going forward in life.
Exactly.
But where we are, I think, in a cultural sense, is that we are like limiting our minds. And the problem with that is then you limit yourself to say, I'm not going to get better. And I think
Exactly.
that's one of the parts of medicine that I hate right now is
Yeah.
labeling people like you are always
Yeah.
going to be this,
Yeah.
always going to be that. And that's not true.
Not at all. Not at
And-
all. And sorry, Shawn, go on.
Well, and that, you talked about our environment.
Yeah.
And our environment is what has caused the chronic disease epidemic. It's not genetics.
No.
Genetics doesn't change in a generation and a half.
No.
It's our environment that has caused type 2 diabetes and hypertension and cardiovascular disease. It
Yep.
has very, very little to do with our genetics. And if a doctor tells you, well, it's just your genetics, take
No.
this pill and you'll be good, get a new
Well,
doctor.
Exactly. Well, look at the research. Epigenetics is about your environment, isn't it? It's about
Yeah.
your environment. And the fact is, I totally agree. And there was a study done. There's a study done. It was in America by a very eminent psychologist in, I think, Harvard. I don't know if you've come across it, where they took people in their, I might get the details wrong, but you'll get the gist. Where they took a group of people, I think in their 70s, and they put them in a home, as in like they all lived together. And they had to imagine it was 1958 or 1959. Have you heard of this study?
No. Huh.
Well, so what they did, they were measuring biological age. So they tested it at the beginning before they went in, and then they tested it after 4 weeks of living there. So they had to dress in clothes like it was as they remember it was in 1959. There's magazines there, they had TV programs, films, all from that era. They had to imagine if they were used to work, what their job, as though they still got the job. They then tested their biological age at the end of the 4 weeks, and it reduced by 4 years. They got 4 years younger, purely believing that actually they were younger than they were. So there's plenty of studies like that,
Right.
show that.
It reminds me of a statement on the same kind of analogy that my wrestling coach in high school taught us.
Yeah.
The mind is very powerful. And this is what this is saying. Whether you think you're a winner or a loser, you're right.
You're right.
So
Exactly.
I try to tell people to don't say, and Jen and I we don't use the term old. Oh, I'm just getting old.
No.
We don't do it.
No.
We just don't, because obviously everybody's getting older. I mean, the day you were born, you're getting older.
Absolutely, yeah.
But you start using the term getting old. Well, that's why I can't run, and that's why I can't go outside and do X, Y, Z. It's like, no, we do not let that come out of our mouths.
Absolutely. And and you're right. It is about mindset. And I remember this when I traveled around, this is like in the sort of early 90s, I backpacked around China when nobody went to China in those days, and India, different places. And I'd see these elderly people who were obviously elderly, but they were doing the Qigong and Tai Chi in the park, or they were doing the yoga. And it was like, and they were revered. It was almost like old age, or going into those, they would call it the golden age, where they had all the life's wisdom, but they'd maintained their health and vitality. So like you said, it's only in the Western culture that it's like, pop culture, where we go youth and then old age is like a decline. It doesn't have to be a decline. But like you said, if you don't take responsibility, and this is what homeopathy is about, if you don't take responsibility for your own health, then who else is going to do it? You're just going to hand it over to corporations. And I'm not sort of having a go at corporations, but the pharmaceutical industry is not in the wellness business. It's in the sickness business. As long as you know that, that's fine. But you've got a choice to make. And like you said, I either take charge of my health, because when you give it away, that's when you got big problems. And as you said about, chronic disease now, and I was reading somewhere, they were saying in America now, your chronic disease level has never been so high.
And that includes children, by the way.
And that includes children, exactly.
Right.
Well, I remember as a kid, we never really saw obese kids.
Never.
No. I mean, usually out of 100 people, there was one or two.
Yeah, one or
people.
two. Yeah, one or two.
And now it's well over 50%.
Yeah.
And it especially depends on how you define obese. Because when Jen and I look at kids now, and we look at the normal now, the normal kids now, when we were kids, they would have been obese.
Exactly.
Like, oh no, that kid's fat.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the average kid, they can't run a mile.
No.
When you're 16, 17 years old, every kid should be able to run a mile.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we did. I mean, we it was just thinking,
exactly. We did every day.
We did it. I was going to say, we did it. We're on a bike. We're on our bikes all day. I think back about, where we used to go with kids on the bikes, and playing out and this and that. And even sports, it's like my son's really into soccer, and it's like he's 15, he's in a soccer academy. But they'll have if it rains, the game's cancelled. It's like, what? When I was a kid, it's like you'd have to be. I don't ever remember it ever being cancelled. You did it, rain, snow, whatever it was, you did it. And again, it's like we've come into this culture where we want to play safe all the time, or where, like I said about the parent that takes the kid to. It's like I don't know what's happened. It's like, that's how we learn. We learn, don't we, through that experience. We learn through the environments that we place ourselves in, and it's not doing us any favors.
Do you follow Jordan Peterson at all?
Yeah. I know Jordan Peterson. Yeah.
I love what he says, and he says this. He says, "Teach your kids to do dangerous things." Now he means that do it.
Yes,
safely.
of course. Yeah.
But
because you climb a tree and different things you get up to. You went, oh, okay. That's where you could sort of like weigh it up. You got to weigh up. Do I do this or do I do that? But I tell you what, one of the biggest things I've talking about Jordan Peterson and around men, particularly, and young men, and I started a podcast called Beyond the Shed for men, really. So Beyond the Shed is, I don't know if you have the same in the US, but in the UK, we have sheds where we keep our tools in the bottom of the garden. And often men will disappear, get away from the family to the shed. Normally have a chair there and whatever, but they get away from the rest of the family. And it's called The Shed. It's only since I got older that I realized actually the importance of it. Never really understood it when I was younger, but I do now. So it's called Beyond the Shed. So basically we built a shed and we turned into a studio, and we get men in to talk about men's stuff, right? And the reason we do that, and the reason why I started the podcast, because I saw a statistic a couple of years ago which said the biggest cause of death for men under the age of 50 is suicide in the UK.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Second biggest cause of death is accidents, but actually a lot of them are suicides, but being misreported as accidents. And I thought, wow, that is that is an epidemic. Why aren't in the UK more people talking about it? And so I think Jordan Peterson has done a lot for especially young men and giving them direction and purpose around things. But it's so desperately needed, men and young men. I think young men, if I'm honest, I think they're very confused. They don't know how to be anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I think with all things that have gone on in the media, I think it's really confused men, young men particularly. And I think, they need more role models, and they need more role models of men in their lives. And I think maybe this is for another episode, but it's I think it's a big issue.
Well, we raised two boys and we didn't have any girls. And, 20 some years ago when we started raising them, I mean, it started earlier than that, but we've demasculated men.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We made it so it's not cool to be masculine. And then when these boys become men, there's really a big problem, or it could be,
Could be.
I think we start out in a strange place raising children now, that it's scary for them to get hurt, or they shouldn't move when they're in school. Like I remember, the time frame when I grew up versus the time frame now of how kids are sitting in school. We were moving. We were not sitting for hours in the same spot.
No.
And when I filled in sometimes at our local during lunch, my youngest was like in the 5th grade. The monitor in the lunchroom wanted the kids to be quiet, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I don't understand. They should let their energy go. So we're crushing natural energies that we are made to use. And I'll use boys for example. Our youngest kid could not sit still for so when he needed to do something, sending him around the block, running around the block, or running, or his bike or whatever, then he could come back and focus.
Yeah.
But don't we want people who can think while they're moving, because that's reality of life, right? Like
absolutely.
We don't want people who can't think on their feet.
No, not at all. And I agree. And I think particularly boys, boys, they need to release that energy, don't they? They need to release that. That's part of being a boy, the rough, the tumble, the everything they do It's part of a part of development, isn't it? It's part of it's like banter. We have banter in the US, banter between men. But my wife does not understand banter. But but
Right,
it's
right.
but when you look at the research behind banter, what banter's about for men is there's a reason for it. And banter, because banter from the outside can look like we're being mean to each other, but there's no malice behind banter. You're just messing, right? But it's about testing the group. And what happens is the group's testing the individuals to see whether or not they're safe, and they don't take themselves too seriously as within the group. So there's a reason behind all these things, and there's reasons why we do it, what we do. But then now in the UK, well, we're getting political now. In the UK, the government is making employers liable for, say you work in a pub, they're making the employer, the people who own the pub, liable for banter or things that are said in the pub at the bar, right? In case it offends the person who works behind the bar. I mean, how can you monitor that?
Yeah, right.
And
again, this is just the federal government playing nanny state like they do. The United States will probably not be far behind on that one. And then somebody can play victim and say, see, I was put in an environment where I didn't like something I heard. It's never about taking personal responsibility anymore. And that's just a huge problem.
And I think back to what you're saying as well about being a victim, it's like, now listen, I'm not saying there's not victims, of course there are, but I think, the balance has gone too far. We need to bring it back in. And like you said, it always comes down to our resilience. And I think the more ways we can do that, like we talk about meds, we talk about homeopathy, we talk about all these things, all that is within us. We're born with it. I believe we're all born with it, but it's up to us. We don't see how things are. We see things as we are. And
right, for sure. Well, I want to go back to the golden age you're talking about in China. They talk about, when people get into their elderly years, how are we define that? They call it the golden years.
Yeah.
And we talk about this all the time. So Jen and I are both in our 50s.
Yeah.
And we're not slowing down at all.
We're great to be in our 50s. To me, it's the best time. I love it. Go on, carry on.
It really should be.
Yeah.
Marcus, it should be the best time of your life. You've got probably more time than you've ever had before because your kids are raised.
Yeah.
You've probably financially better set than you've ever been.
Yeah.
And as long as you took care of yourself.
Yeah.
But that's part of the problem is people didn't take care of their health. So they're in their 50s and, they don't feel good. They can't get off the couch. And then that's probably part of the problem with suicide. And there's a lot more to it than that. I am sure. But if you prepare yourselves right, this should be the best years of your life. You're smarter than you've ever been. You're wiser than you've ever been.
Yeah.
You should be in some of the best health you've ever been. More time, more.
Yeah, and wisdom as well. Wisdom. You've seen you don't suffer feels ugly anymore. you've got a bit of wisdom. So it's great. But like I said, even at this age, you can still, even if people listening who are feeling really ill and they're feeling not great, it starts today.
Absolutely.
It starts today. Just move the needle forward every single day. Just like the meds thing I talked about. Here's an example. I had a client, he's a man, and he's having a tough time with his splitting up from his wife and all different things. And he's feeling really depressed. I said, right. I want every day, I want you to have, when you're in the shower, see if you can get to a minute under the cold shower every day, right? Now I'm big into ice baths, so I do it. I do a lot of ice baths and cold water. I don't know whether you do it, Shawn or Jan, but that is a phenomenal thing to do. I said I can guarantee you after that shower, that cold shower, I can guarantee you, can bet you anything, you will not be in a bad mood after that shower, right? Very difficult. And I know this from from the endorphins that are pumping through his body. Yeah. And you know what? He texted me after day 3. He said, I've got up to a minute. He said, I cannot believe how this has affected my day. Right? Just that one thing to do. No antidepressants, no remedies, nothing. No, just have a cold shower. Why? Because those natural endorphins and pumping away after that shock. You feel amazing. And for me, it would last when I've got a bath outside. When I do a cold water, I no more than 4 minutes I go in there. But I come out, it will last me for 6 or 7 hours. It really is that powerful. So Why did I mention that? I can't remember. Oh, we've already got it. We've already got it. And we've just got to take it.
And you're going to shower anyway, so it costs you nothing.
Costs you nothing.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of things like that. It's just like your diet.
Yeah.
It
Same thing.
costs you nothing. You got to eat, stay alive.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of free things that you can do that's not costly. And we could go down a whole other rabbit hole, but eating healthy is not expensive.
It's not expensive.
That's a lie that has been pushed, and eating healthy is not expensive at all.
Especially if you just eat, like we said, real food, that food that and you get into a habit of it where, I think the secret is, and for anybody listening as well, is once you start on this journey, you start not wanting to have crap food because it's going to make you feel ill.
Yeah.
So when you start getting a taste of vitality, this is really important actually to say this. There's a difference between energy and there's a difference between vitality. You can get energy from a can of Coke, right? You get energy and then it crashes, or coffee. Vitality is something different. Vitality is what we've talked about. When you're a kid, you wake up in the morning, you're full of vitality, the wonder of the day, you just feel great. We've still got that. And back to that golden age, that's what those guys and people are tapping into. It's still there. But I think just, like I said, just eating that real food, you start to not want to do those things. Like I stopped alcohol, I was about 28 because I was just sick of it, really, drinking.
Yeah.
And I was only still quite young, but I was just sick of feeling crap the next day. And I wanted to feel healthy. I wanted to feel good. And I didn't start off saying I'm never going to drink again. I thought, I wonder if I could start for a month. And guess what? After that first month, I felt great. I felt so good.
Yeah.
I woke up better in the morning. I felt better. I thought, okay, I'll do it for another month. And that's been 26 years. And for me, it's the best thing I ever did. I still would never say I would never drinking again because I don't want to put that in my mind. I just choose not to. I choose different options. And guess what? Sometimes I have pizza and I do this pizza and whatever. That's fine, but I can do that because you've built that foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Wow. What a great podcast, Marcus. Thank you for being on and sharing your knowledge. We really, really appreciate it. Our goal is podcast. Yeah. Our goal is podcast is to educate and empower individuals to take charge of their own health. And you definitely help us realize that goal. Yeah.
Well, listen, it's great that what you're doing. I think it's fantastic. And I think the more we can share it, like I said, back to the beginning, what I said, to enhance the health and well-being of humankind. I mean, we know we're all in this together and we can help each other. And when we do that, then we lift the whole health of the nation.
Yes. And if you ever need a guest on your podcast for your Beyond the
Absolutely. Oh, no, Shawn, I've already clocked that. Don't worry. I'm going to get you on. Yeah. Well, we can do it in our studio in London, but actually we're now going to start doing it internationally. So we do it like this. Yeah. So,
cool.
But yeah, great. Thank you. Thanks, Bo. Thanks, Shawn. Thanks,
thanks, we really appreciate it. We could go on and on. There's so many
no.
things we have in common. We could just keep talking. So
it's great.
Thank you for being on today and helping us realize our goal of our podcast.
No worries. Thank you. Take care.
And listeners and viewers, thank you for tuning in to Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham. Tune in Thursday to our midweek podcast, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you.